Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Success is No Accident Strategic Planning for Small Business. My name is Teresa Davis, and I will be your organizer and tech support for this webinar. Our presenter today is Hal Thayer, and without further ado, I'll just turn it right on over to him to start the presentation.
Thank you, Teresa. Welcome, everybody. Excited to be here. Strategic planning is a must-do, a best practice for small businesses, and I'm eager to talk about it with you, provide you with tools and a path toward developing a strategic plan for your business. So just to get us started, a little bit about the SBDC. We are unfortunately the best kept secret in Central Florida because we offer a lot of terrific services, generally at no cost. Founded in 1976, we're part of a national network, over 1,000 centers across the U.S. And in the U.S. territories. We're funded primarily by the Small Business Administration of the federal government, but we also have funding from the state of Florida. And we've been designated by the state of Florida as the principal provider of business assistance, as well as being nationally accredited. And we're very proud of the fact that Florida has named us as the #1 provider of assistance. We serve Central Florida. The 8 counties include Orange, Seminole, Lake, Osceola, Sumter, Flagler, Brevard, and Volusia. There are 12 regions in Florida for the SBDC. We're proudly affiliated with the University of Central Florida, who is our host. In terms of what we do, it's a really 4-legged stool, consulting, and you'll hear more about this. We offer no-cost consulting from experts. It's confidential, it's one-on-one, and it's unlimited. It's as much as you need and want, we make available to you, our clients. We also have business training seminars and webinars, which is where we are today. We also offer you access to no-cost market research. Because of our affiliation with UCF, we're able to use the databases at the library and can do pretty amazing competitive research, consumer research, prospect identification, and the like. So when you're in the early stages of your business or wanting to expand and want to understand your market better, we've got a lot of great data sources for you. And finally, we offer some special programs for second stage companies, usually companies that have been in business for 2 or 3 years or looking to move up to the next level of success. Well, I'm not going to go into them in depth. You can read about them on our website, sbdcorlando.com. They are really what distinguish the SBDC at UCF from a lot of other SBDCs. We go the extra mile to help our small to medium-sized enterprises, established businesses go and grow. A little bit of housekeeping here. Copies of the presentation and key materials are available in the handouts tab. It's part of GoToWebinar. I hope you can see that on the right. If you have any questions, feel free to use the chat box. We've got a lot to cover today, so what I'm going to do is hold those questions till the end. So please try to be specific about what your question is when you go to the chat box, so that when we go back to it, we recall what the question was, and we can dig down deep into it. Right after the meeting, we'll be sending you a webinar evaluation. We're in a regular effort to continuously improve, so your feedback is very important to us and will be very much appreciated. And finally, tomorrow I will be sending you an email reiterating what the next steps are from this webinar, as well as with an extensive number of attachments from the materials that we're going to be talking about today. So I think that covers the background. Let me talk about my goals for today. Really, what I'm after is to give you a planning primer, a path to doing strategic planning for yourself. Strategic planning is a process. It's not just a one-time event. And we like to look at it as being broken into 4 pieces: a financial plan, a marketing plan, a business plan, and that pulled together becomes a strategic plan with some additional pieces to it. Some of the key tools we're going to be talking about today that I'll make available to you later are the strategic planning checklist. In the handouts, it's called the path to a strategic plan. The financial pro forma budget template, that's called the pro forma template in the handouts. The marketing toolbox, we'll talk about some models for strategic analysis, and then we'll talk about a monthly dashboard. And as I said, the next piece and the final piece will be to identify what next steps are we would recommend as you develop a strategic plan. So the key here is to understand that this is not just about today, it's about your future and or getting ready for your future. We're going to be talking about familiar concepts that you've heard and dealt with before. I hope we're going to sort of mix them in so that you can see how they can apply to a strategic plan. Hopefully we package them usefully so that you can follow along and know when to apply them. I will admit that there is a fire hose aspect to this, and drinking from it all may feel like a lot, but the secret sauce in here and the real answer to how to make this work for you is having an SBDC consultant. If you don't have one, we're going to recommend strongly that you get one. As I indicated earlier, we're available to you at no cost on an unlimited basis. We have a variety of expertise that we bring to bear on your situation, on your needs, customized to what you're trying to accomplish. And think about that. Think about the opportunity for having a partner, having built-in accountability. If you used your SBDC consultant to meet on a weekly or every other week basis on a methodical process to keep track of what you're doing today, what you want to do for next meeting, and going step by step by step, it's proven to be extremely effective for a lot of our SBDC clients, and I know that if you took advantage of it, you would be rewarded. The clients that do tend to be very satisfied with the results. So the secret sauce is getting yourself an SBDC consultant. Stepping back for a second, why do you want to do this? Well, best way to just answer that is to talk about starting with the end in mind and thinking about looking out into 2025 or 26, where do you want to be? And wouldn't it be great if you had rented a house on the beach for a month and you had a leadership team in place that could run the business while you were on the beach, where you had weekly updates that told you where your business was and what was going on, and then monthly dashboards that made it clear about where you wanted to go and what you wanted to do next. Or maybe you just sold the business and you're just checking Facebook. A little joke, but the notion is exit strategies are a part of what all of us want for our businesses at some appropriate time. Having a good strategic plan is a key step toward a successful exit. And so important to be thinking about where do I want to go, because and what the end looks like as a way to inform what we're doing here. So the path to a strategic plan are there are 4 steps or 3 steps there, and then the strategic plan is the 4th step. The first step is your financial plan, understanding your numbers, having a budget and pro formas. Step 2 is having a marketing plan, knowing who your market is, knowing who your customers are, and having a lead generation process, a way to get prospects, identify prospects, and then convert them to customers. And then finally, having a business plan, understanding what your business is, what the different operational aspects of it are, functional aspects, and then taking all of that and putting it on paper so you can socialize that and share it with all of your employees, with your leadership team, with all of the key stakeholders that you might have. Let's step back for a second and wonder and think about what does a successful company look like, and how do you value a company? So I'm going to put up two companies here for you to consider. So company A is 25 years old. It's a niche consumer product. It's got 30 million in sales, 3 million in EBITDA, and has nominal market growth. Company B, also 25 years old, also has is also a niche consumer product, 20 million in sales and 2 million in EBITDA. Well, as you look at this, on the surface, it would look like company A is more valuable, more revenues and more profits. But when you dig deeper, and this is why I'm using this as an example, we find that the 2 companies aren't comparable. And in fact, one, when we understand the other aspects of the business, is going to be more valuable. So let me add in this. So company A, all of these elements of a strategic plan, product development, market development program, the condition of your operations and your equipment, having a management team, the strategic planning they do, information systems, their corporate culture, financial reporting systems, lean initiatives for efficiency, environmental management, and training of employees. Red is not good, green is very good. And what I've done here is kind of laid out how company B has all of those things going for it. The product development program is robust. The market development program is robust. It gets state-of-the-art equipment, deep and experienced management team, highly developed strategic planning, state-of-the-art info systems, a valued corporate culture the owners committed to, disciplined reporting, et cetera, et cetera. My point is that when you just look at the early facts, you might be misled. But when you start filling in all of these elements of a good strategic plan, you start seeing that where value really comes from. And I'm hoping that when we go through this strategic plan today, that you will see that by building a strategic plan, you have the opportunity to create value in your company, in your organization, using the tools I'm going to present, using the path I'm going to recommend, and having that consultant from the SBDC to guide you and work with you. So here's the thing that everybody needs to understand. The hardest thing about a strategic plan, a financial plan, a marketing plan, a business plan is writing it down. It needs to be out of your head and on the screen or on paper, okay? It's the only way to get everybody else on the same page. SMART goals is something we're all familiar with in terms of having it be specific, measurable, etc. And by writing it down and being able to put it, balance it, put it against SMART goals, you have an opportunity to strengthen how you're coming at this. Also, writing it down creates ownership and accountability. It helps you with communications. The other thing to understand about a strategic plan, any of the plans we're talking about, is you want to make it dynamic and update it and review it regularly. This isn't a exercise where you write it and then drop it in the top drawer and never look at it again. You need to make it a regular revisit, update, and view. And when we get into some of these things, we'll be showing you how you do want to go back to it on a monthly basis, for instance, with the financial plan, to make sure that you get, you understand how you're performing against budget, what actual is versus budget, so that you can better forecast what the next month or the next year looks like. So key point, write it down. All of these things need to be put in on paper or on a computer so that you can use them to your advantage. Okay, so step one, phase one, follow the money, developing a financial plan. First things first, follow the money, as I said. Business is about money. It's about top line, your revenues, bottom line, your profits. Money needs to be managed. I think we all know that. You want to paint a picture of the financial story of your organization, and the way you do that is the financial future of your business, and the way you do that is with the pro formas that I'm going to show you in a minute. And that's why we say that your canvas is your spreadsheet. So a 36-month pro forma is a tool to evaluate financial what-ifs. It's a month-by-month estimate of the next 3 years of your business. You do it by looking at what your revenues are, broken into categories if you can do it, and then looking at what your expenses are, what your cost of goods sold, your labor expenses, fixed expenses, variable expenses, banking, and other expenses. The point of this really is, in doing the 36-month pro forma, is you can't manage a business out of your checkbook. Too many small entrepreneurs try that initially and then realize that they're just really not managing the finances. The finances are managing them. So what we do is build this pro forma, this budget, this financial forecast, so that we can first articulate what we believe is going to happen, and then measure what actually happens against our beliefs, as a way to get better and better and better at understanding how the market works and how our business works. So this is a sample of a pro forma statement, of a financial statement. Month 1, month 2, month 3, broken down into revenues, your expenses, and then looking at future months and thinking about, so month 1, 2, 3, pretty easy to say, let's talk about what happens in month 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9, and then 10, 11, and 12. There's going to be variability in that. You're going to add customers. You're going to hopefully add employees. You may have seasonality that comes, because it's summer in Florida, people aren't going to be using your product as much, or maybe they're using it more. But they're all variables that can change over a year and over 3 years. But you're thinking about them and noting them and writing them down on this pro forma statement is how you come to learn and own and be in charge of your finances. One tip, very important, as you're doing this financial plan and you're working with your SBDC consultant, they'll absolutely make this clear. It's terribly important that you keep track of the assumptions that you are making as you're going through the financial plan. So you're going to say, in month one, you're going to assume you have 10 customers. And that's fine, and we'll buy that. In month two, you're going to say 12. Why will you have 12? There's an assumption inherent in going from 10 to 12. That's what you need to keep track of. Where do you see that growth coming from in number of customers? If the revenue per client is changing, what is causing that change? Keeping track of how you think of that is important for when you go back and review the actual experience you had, to say, oh, my assumptions were a little off there. I need to tweak them as I reforecast and adjust for how the market turns out to really be. I've written a lot of business plans with my clients. They've done great work on doing their budgets, and made really sensible assumptions all the way through, and yet found that when you get into the market, you have competition, you are dealing with real customers, there are unexpected occurrences that may mean that you want to make sure you know what you assumed so you can adjust your assumptions. This is an example of the P&L, a profit and loss pro forma. For the year, we've got one of these in the handouts. It's called the pro forma template. This is manipulatable inside of the program. Again, what I do with my clients is I have them take a run at this and take their best shot, and then come in and we sit down with me, and over an hour, a couple of hours, we go through the numbers, we comb through the numbers, we fill them in, and we tighten it up as a way to get to a meaningful document for them. And where that leads to is to something I call the golden month. And what the golden month is where you realize your personal income goal, right? Where the profitability of the company, combined with your salary, your compensation, meets the goal that you have set for yourself. Now, whether that's replacement income, it's just a targeted goal, or it's a six-figure momentum you want to build, it's all about what your decision is and what your goal is. How much revenue will you need to get to that personal income goal? How many customers will you need? What kind of expenses will be required? How much, therefore, cash will you have to have available to keep that engine running? All of those pieces are subsets to getting you to your personal income goal. So we urge you to sort of think about that as a way to manage and think about the financial plan. Now, golden months can be, about sustainable profitability. It could be about a personal income goal for you, that you have enough cash flow to start hiring, that you to be able to hire a strong number two. They're expensive, but that also means that you're freed up from working in the business to working on the business, and that can often mean taking it to greater heights of success and profitability. And then that greater profitability will get you to a higher multiple. And what a multiple is, for those of you who may not know, is when somebody does a price evaluation on a company, what is it worth? They usually use a multiple of annual revenues to get to the purchase, to get to a price, to get to its value. And so by increasing revenues, increasing profitability, you can increase that multiple, which means that the value of the company has increased. This is kind of a visual of what I'm talking about. Is current month versus golden month. We're gonna try to build in a growth rate, and take it that way. Now, there's a subset to this financial plan I'm talking about, and that's called a budget. Okay, so you take that financial planning template that we've got available here. You've done your projections, your forecast. The next step is we take that and we turn it into a budget. That is, this is what I'm expecting to spend, you're expecting to spend each month. And then at the end of the month, what we're going to do is we're going to look and see, I referred to this earlier, what did you budget and what was actual? And what's the variance, and what's causing those variances, and how should I think about those, and what does that mean for my next month, my next month's forecast? So by putting a budget together, you get to now be managing your finances regularly. So first step is to build that 36-month pro forma of your financials. Based on that, thinking about what's important to you, and working with your consultant can be a good way to test and debate where your golden month is and why that would be important. And to get there, you're going to want to be able to estimate a realistic growth rate. And that again comes from your experience in the market, what you're seeing, and what you think is achievable. And then finally, we take all of that to develop that budget, which is the management tool that you will use to keep track of your financial health as a company. So that's part one, the strategic plan. Phase one of the strategic plan is your financial plan. Phase two is working on your plan to grow. And the way you do that is a marketing plan. A marketing plan is all about creating revenue. So this is about the top line, which is the revenue line for your business. So how do you define marketing for your business? I mean, we all come from different experiences and different roles and have a lot of different definitions of what marketing is. Some people think marketing sales, others think it's advertising. Some companies don't think they do marketing, that customers just come to them. They think their sales teams do the marketing, or that they have a dedicated marketing team and a dedicated sales team. So really just saying there are all kinds of ways to define it. For our purposes in the strategic planning discussion, we're going to define it as how your business generates leads. There are a lot of people think of marketing as being those who sow the seeds and fertilize the ground and start the plants growing, and that sales comes into harvest. For our purposes, I want to talk about how do you think about generating leads. We talk about the 7 P's of marketing at the SBDC and thinking about how you do business and why how you go to market. And traditionally, the 4 P's have been your product or service. P for product, place, promotion, and price. So product and services. What's your name? What's your what are your qualities? What benefits do you bring your customers? What are your product attributes? Who are your competitors? Place is about your distribution. How do you get your product or service into the marketplace? How do you sell it? If you have brick and mortar, where are you located? Promotion, and this is where a lot of people get confused and think it's marketing. Promotion is telling your story. It's the method of telling your story. Do you do it through advertising? Do you do it through marketing communications, sometimes called Marcom, brochures and that kind of thing? Do you do it on the web? But that's promotion. And then lastly, price. We need to have a strategy in our marketing plan around what's our price, when and if we offer discounts or price promotions. But those are the 4 core P's of marketing. What we add at the SBDC, because for small businesses, because it's very relevant to small businesses, is positioning, people, and planning. Positioning is, so how does your product or service compare with the competition? What is your value proposition? What are your differentiators? What makes you special? Why should a customer prefer you? And that's what positioning is about. It's a critical success factor for a small business, because so often you're competing with huge companies established in the market, brand names, and you're going to need to be providing a reason for customers to choose you instead of a familiar brand and brand they hear all the time. And it's a lot like a dating relationship. I mean, you're asking somebody to break up with their girlfriend, their boyfriend, and start dating you because you've got more to offer. Your brand statement and your positioning is how you convince that prospect that they should make a change and come buy from you, work with you, etc. The people piece is, it's terribly important for a small business to to know who their target audience is. Small businesses don't have unlimited resources. Every dollar we have, we want to make sure it is used against the people who can buy our product, who are likely to buy our product. So a very clear and specific definition of your target audience is a mandatory. And then lastly is planning. So in my book, marketing is an investment. And anytime I make an investment, I want to know what my return is. And so I try in all the marketing plans we help clients put together to identify ways we can measure what's happening in the campaigns we do and the marketing we do. They all saw about plan the work and work the plan is dead right. You want to write it down. You've heard that from me before. Write down the plan, track your results, and make adjustments as you need to, going through the cycle of marketing. The 6 specific components of your marketing plan are goals, target, your messages, your marketing tools, campaigns, and your measurement. So goals, how many leads do you need? How much do you want to spend? Where do you get your marketing goals? That emoji is asking. Where you get those is by looking at your competition, looking back at your financial projections, understanding what you need, how many leads you need, understanding how well they convert, and how much revenue each customer produces. This helps you define what your marketing goals are in terms of leads and how much you can spend on them, all from your financial plan. Your targets are, again, I earlier referred to that, people. Who are they? Where do they live? What are their demographics, psychographics? All of that you can understand about them, so you make sure you go talk to them where they live, you speak the language they speak, so that they can hear you when you explain to them why you're the product to choose. And that's what you're doing in your messaging, is making sure that the messages you have are addressing specifically the needs and wants of the target market that you've defined. there are a ton of marketing tools that I'll talk about in a minute. They run the gamut. I will be sending you out a toolbox list when we get through, but there are just many options. Right now, frankly, the leading one is digital marketing tools. Starting with your website, and building out from there using the various marketing platforms on the internet. It's usually inexpensive. It usually gets to your customer, and it's what we're seeing more and more being the central nervous system of our clients' marketing plans. A key concept in marketing is to do campaigns, which means weaving together your targets, your message, and your tools to meet your goals. You don't want to do random acts of marketing. It doesn't work. A customer needs to be touched or touched with communication with an impression 11 times before they start making purchase decisions or even get interested. So by having a campaign and multiple activities, it's around over a specific period of time, you're much more likely to get enough impressions on that customer to have a outcome, that desirable outcome. And then lastly, and I referred to this earlier, we want to see, we want to measure the performance of our marketing activities. So if we start this on day 1 and we finish our campaign on day 30, what changed over that period? Where did those changes come from? All of that is part of a marketing plan, and understanding and reviewing and measuring what the results of your business were. People often say, so how do I craft my message, right? Well, the best way I can suggest to it is that you think about, from your customer's perspective, what your product or service is offering. What are the features of your product or service? What are the benefits from using it, of having it? Attributes that it provides to the customer, and then your positioning. As I was saying, what do you do unique and better, and would create preference for you versus a competitor? One thing to underscore is that customers don't buy features, they buy benefits. And so focusing on what your benefit is, what your product or service's benefit is to the customer and to your target audience, is the critical decision factor as you're doing your messaging. I like these opportunities where you can reduce big questions down to really simple ideas, and this notion of the value proposition. Where does the customer get value from a product or service? And there are really only 3 ways. It can increase their income somehow, it can reduce their expenses, it can mitigate their risks, or it can improve their competitiveness. So this is kind of going from a B2B, business to business perspective. That's all a business customer, the only 4 reasons a business customer buys is to increase income, reduce expenses, mitigate risk. Which one of those are you leveraging for your company in a B2B situation? When it's B2C, it's different. Your value proposition is going to be about how do you solve a problem for them. So how do you help them deal with a pain? How do you give them something that they don't have? So how do you help them with gain? And then third is how can they, how do 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 they, manage, again, risk and avoid a problem. So pain and gain are the two keys in there, and all of that helps create a perception, and that becomes your brand, if you will, and that is in fact your positioning in the marketplace. I mentioned that the marketing toolbox has a lot of options, and the fun I had with this page was to list just some of them, right? Advertisements, a calling service, elevator speeches. You guys have heard, I'm sure, a lot of this here and there and the other, and I've got a long list of them that'll go out to tomorrow. But social media, tchotchkes, swag, networking events. There's a big long list of marketing tactics that you can choose from to develop to build out your marketing plan. Now here's the rub. A lot of businesses stop there, right? They develop the marketing plan, they create their messaging, they choose which marketing tactics to use, and then they stop. And they say things like, I spent $600, $6,000 on a website and I got nothing. We have a Facebook account, what now? We do networking, but we don't get much out of it. We sent out mailers, but nobody called. What is missing from this story? What from this picture? Well, the answer is you need to have a campaign strategy. And that's what I said earlier about weaving together the target markets, your messaging, and the tools over a specific period of time. You want to have a series of contacts, a series of impressions on your target audience. Okay, you want to, maybe it's it's repeated constant contact emails, a follow-up call with a scripted voicemail, value-driven emails, i.e., where you're providing them with a white paper or an article. But you repeat, and then you repeat it. You don't want to be a vulture about it, but you do want to be regular and consistent, and doing it repeatedly as a way to break through all of the noise and clutter in people's lives. And so, while you're not going to be, we can time it so you don't come off as a stalker. You do want to be consistent and persistent. And why I said earlier, when you think about a campaign, you want to have a start date and an end date, and then at the end date, you want to step back and measure it. What happened? Okay. You want to know things like how many leads did the campaign create? How much did we spend? How many leads did we get? And then what does that mean in terms of our cost per lead? How good were our leads? How well did they convert from being a lead to being a sale? And there's more of that. And the question I always get, well, so great, I want to measure. How do I measure? Well, the ways you do that is you have dedicated toll-free numbers when people call in that we're only attached to one campaign. You have specific landing pages on your website that you direct them to in your communications. You ask. I mean, I think the second thing you ought to say to somebody calling in, a new client, is, how did you hear about us? Thanks for calling. How did you hear about us? It's that, as simple as that sounds, that's a great way to learn and figure out what is why a client is there. How did you find them, and what's working for you, right? The dirty little secret about marketing is it's all about trial and error. You try something, and if it works, you keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you want to stop and try something else. But that means you're in a constant round of testing strategies and tactics, using what works and then moving on to something else if it doesn't work. So concluding getting back to the path, next for the marketing plan, the steps are define what marketing is for your business. Do market research. That's where the SBDC and that access we have to the UCF databases can really help. Define your marketing goals, both in terms of how many leads do you want to get and what kind of budget. Who's your target market? Remember, I underscored how important that is. What's your messaging? How are you going to speak to them? Talk about the benefits that you bring them and how to buy from you. Which marketing tools work for you? And that's, again, the trial and error testing. And then create campaigns. Do something for 30 days, 60 days, and see what works or what doesn't work. So, one of the handouts we made available is the one that's called Path to a Strategic Plan. And what it has in there are each one of these steps that you see me talking about at the end of each one, at the end of each section. So we just finished the marketing section, and these are the 10 steps, the 5 steps to get you to your marketing plan. When we did the financial plan, there were 4 there that were important. And you'll see as we go through this that I regularly go back to that path and the different steps numbered for you to try to help understand how we get to the full-blown strategic plan. Okay, financial plan, marketing plan. Next step is getting everybody on the same page, which is to write a business plan. When I say everybody getting on the same page, what I'm talking about is all of your key stakeholders. And for that, I mean internally and externally. A business plan is useful for bringing a leadership team together, getting employees together around what's trying to be accomplished in the organization by the company. But it's also important for external audiences like banks and vendors and potential employees who want to understand your business and understand, perhaps lend to you, but who are trying to get a grasp of what your plan is and how you're going to be successful. I want to clarify something because a lot of times there can be confusion about the difference between a business plan and the strategic plan. So the business plan is really answers the how question. How are we going to run the business? The audience is primarily you, and you getting all of your ideas onto paper and ready to go. Okay. And what I'm going to show you is not the classic sort of 15, 20 page business plan, but something we call the business model canvas, which is essentially a 1-page business plan that covers all of the key areas of a company and on 1 page. And so really valuable that way. And again, a business plan is usually looking at how you're going to run your business for 2 to 3 years out. A strategic plan, and where this changes a little bit, is where are you going to run the company to? Where do you want to take the company to? And where it's different there is this is more geared to getting your team together to focus on what are we trying to do, why are we trying to do it, and how are we going to do it to be where we want to be in 3 to 5 years. So the key parts of the business plan, and here you go. I've been trying to build this so that it's iterative. We build step on step and step to get to a final business plan. So a key part of the business plan is the financial plan that we just talked about. and was part 1. The marketing plan, which we just talked about, that was part 2. The part 3 is your sales plan. How are you going to convert leads into revenues? And part 3 is your staffing plan. Who's going to do what? How are they going to do it? So as we look at a business plan, it's the financial plan, the marketing plan, the sales plan, the staffing plan. And we've got a tool here, and there's a copy of the template is one of our handouts. It's called the Business Model Canvas. It's your business model on one page. You can learn more about it at strategizer.com. It's a management and entrepreneurial tool. It comes in really handy, and is the starting point for many of my clients who want to get some clarity and focus around what they're doing and how they're going to do it. Because what it does is focus on what I'm going to call the 9 building blocks of a business, which is your customer segments, your customer relationships, your channels, your value proposition, your key activities, key resources, key partners, your costs, and your revenue streams. So this is just a repeat of that, but essentially those 9 elements are what gives you, when you complete the template, a very clear picture of what your business is about and what you need to focus on. This is the template itself. And what I do with my clients is provide them with this that they can use on their computers, and suggest that what they do is simply put bullet points under each one of these. Describe who your key partners are. Tell me what the key activities are in your business. What do you think the value proposition is? What is the value? What is the benefit that you're delivering to a customer? What kind of relationships do you have with each of your customers? Now, I was in a conversation about this yesterday. I had a client who had multiple customer segments because her business went in sort of 3 different directions. Each one of those customer segments, she had a different kind of customer relationship with. So that reverted back to what her customer relationships were, and that in fact reverted back to what her value proposition was or is for each one of those segments. So I hope you can see how these all weave into each other to give you a picture of your business, all on one page. Because again, bullet points, not a lot of verbiage necessary, as opposed to you identifying for you as the owner of your business model canvas what your business looks like. Key resources: what do you need to make your business work, to make the value proposition happen? What channels do your customers want to? How do they want to be reached? Do they want to buy online? Do they want to come into brick and mortar? Do they want to deal with a salesperson? There are different channels that you can use depending upon your customer segment. And then lastly is that your financials, right? What are your costs? What kind of costs do you have? Labor, materials, machinery, rent, space. I mean, we got to think about each one of those. And then revenue streams: where do you get how do you get paid? Where do you get paid, and what do you get paid for? And this is where I always urge clients to do go into some detail. Don't just say, if you're a caterer, that you just want your revenue stream is from catering. tell me about what subset of catering are we talking about? Is it where you're doing, is it hors d'oeuvres at a cocktail party, or is it dinner parties, or is it desserts for a different kind of get together? Breaking down into your revenues into segments, which I referred to earlier as being important when you were developing your financial plan in part one and phase one of the strategic planning process. All of that is part and parcel to trying to better understand what you can manage and how to manage it on the financial side. And I tell you, by breaking your revenues down into subsets is really valuable. As I said, we're in a fire hose mode. I urge you to sit back for a second and look at these 9 elements of a business model, and consider that if you can fill this out however well you can, how much closer you'll be to having a fairly complete picture of your business idea and of your company, and what you're doing with what your business plan is for your company. With my clients, I urge them to take this away, fill it out as well as they can. Nobody's expecting an A paper. In fact, it shouldn't be an A paper, because I'd rather you make guesses and then bring this in and sit down with me as your consultant, or whoever might be your consultant, and go through it point by point and get feedback, get new ideas, delete things that don't really fit. And at the end of the day, you've got what I think is just a hugely valuable tool of having a picture of your business on one page that you can start showing people, socializing, and to help them get on board with you about what your business is about and what your plan for your business is about. So obviously, I'm a big proponent of the business model canvas. Other people are as well at the SBDC. It's a great place to start a business and understand your business with the business model canvas. Now, I will say that in a traditional business plan, so if we were going to a bank, for instance, to apply for a loan, and they wanted your business plan, we would build off the business model canvas into a more traditional business plan, which has a cover page, which has your executive summary of what follows, which would be paragraphs on each one of those areas that we covered in the business model canvas. Your key staff resumes, or your sources of capital would be in your business plan. Your ask, how much do you need and for what? And then all in all, 10 pages. We don't recommend much more than that, with whatever appendices you need. The key here is, for most bankers that we talk to, they are going to read the executive summary. Then they're going to go to the financial plan, the financial reports at the end of the business plan. It's a lot of times the appendices, where they'll find their the balance sheet, the cash flows, the forecasts that you did in part one of this discussion, all of those numbers. So they usually read the executive summary and then go to the numbers. The business model canvas is a great springboard into doing the 10-page business plan. Most importantly, if you don't need it for bankers or anybody else, the one-page business model canvas is a terrific way to get a handle on what your business is about, who and what's important in your business. And with the help of a SBDC consultant, you can do that. It's doable, very doable and very helpful. So steps 11 and 12 on the path to a strategic plan is one, creating that business model canvas outline that I talked about. And then if you need to, draft a more detailed business plan. So back in the day, they used to tell me the best way to do a presentation was tell them where you're going, go there, and then tell them where you've been. So where we are now is we talked about the financial plan, we talked about the the marketing plan, we talked about the business plan. Now I want to bring it all together and come into talk about how to develop the strategic plan. And I call this Vision 2225, and that's sort of looking out 3 years and seeing where we want to be, who we want to be, and what we want to look like. So what are the components of a strategic plan? Well, the big part of it is you deciding who you want to be and what you want to be in 4 years, right? What do you love to do? What is your why? And you own this business, and you have 4 years to make it what you want, is how we're looking at it. So this gets a little bit pie in the sky, you know, looking off into the distance and dreaming. But that's part of what a strategic plan is about. This is the place where we get above the day-to-day, which is the financial plan, the marketing plan, the business plan, and start thinking about where do we want to go in the future? Where do we want to take this into the future? And a key component is what do you love to do? What do you want to be doing in 5 years? I mean, do you love selling? So you want to continue to be the salesperson for your company who's out there promoting it and selling it and you know, finding new customers? Okay, that's great. What that means though is we probably want to find somebody to manage the operations while you're out selling. Are you somebody who likes working with the customers? After they're sold and after they've come in, you like to see the smiles on their faces when they're enjoying your products or services. Are you somebody who enjoys the administrative side of a business, right? Looking at the numbers, managing the numbers, and you know, organizing the business, reorganizing it, the HR piece, or do you love delivery? Do you like bringing the product or service into for the customer and how they want to enjoy the benefits of your, again, product or service. Stepping aside for a second, if you think about it, and we've done a lot of thinking about it, there are only really 6 ways to grow a business, and a big part of what you want to do when you're thinking about your strategic plan is to choose which one, or more than one, which ones are going to drive your strategic plan. So stepping back for a second, the only 6 ways to grow a business are raise prices, that'll increase revenues, grow your market share. If you have more market share, then you're going to have more revenues. You can grow your customer share, which means that you have more of the customers than others do. Introducing a new product or service is another way to grow the business. You can enter new markets, or you acquire a competitor. I said earlier, I like trying to simplify a complicated world called business, and I think this is a good example of, okay, if those are the 6 ways to grow a business, which one or ones do I want to deploy for my business. Now, with that as background, and thinking about now, what do you want your business to look like in 2025? The questions you need to be thinking about is, so what will you be doing in that business? Are you going to be doing the same thing you're doing now? Do you want to be doing the same thing you're doing now? Or do you aspire to something different and a different role inside of your business? What do you think your products and services are going to look like in 2025? What do you think is going to change? How do you see your products and services evolving? How many customers do you think you're going to have? How much revenue do you think you're going to have? Or do you want to have, right? I mean, some people, it's an interesting question. Some people don't want to create an Apple for their business. They want to stay small and have a lifestyle business. That's legit. I mean, we've got plenty of clients that have made that decision and are very happy with their business where it is. Some people want to grow it through the roof. Those are decisions, though, you need to make as you think about what your strategic plan will be. Staffing and expenses. The point there is, some people don't want to manage, 100 people in their company, or have to think about that. They want to keep it small and intimate and family-like, and that's either one's fine, as long as it supports your business model. But it is a decision you need to make about what your vision for the future is. And then lastly, question is number of clients. I mean, number of locations. If locations are important to you, or is that something you're going to want to? Is that something you want to manage too? Do you want to be a one location business, or do you want to be in Jacksonville, Orlando, Tampa, Miami, and be bouncing around to all of your various offices all the time? Different strokes for different folks. You get to choose, but they're all questions you're going to want to answer as you think about your strategic plan. Another question I get a lot is, so how do I represent my vision for 2025? I've got one. I sort of understand what it might look like, and how do I encapsulate that? How do I articulate that? What's the best way to represent it? And the answer is any way you want, frankly. Yeah, or if it's an organization chart, if it's a mock P&L, if it's a narrative, if it's a video. The key is to find a way to represent it so that you can socialize it and show people where you want to go. Something to think about in all of this is, one of the key thoughts to have as you're going through this process is adopting a strategic perspective. I talked a little bit about it a minute ago, and saying this is really a time to sit back, look out over the treetops, and think about what could be. Be imaginative, be creative, be innovative about what could be the possible future, as opposed to just a nose to the grindstone, sticking in the weeds kind of look at this. What I'm really saying is, don't be afraid as you develop your strategic plan to dream and to think big about where you might want to go and where you want to take your company. The good news is there will be people that you are working with, consultants at SBDC, people who are on your team, that as you socialize this and as you work with them, will help you hone that story, hone that picture of the future into something that is useful and valuable to you in running your business and your strategic planning process. So what are the components of the strategic plan, right? Essentially, it's going to answer three questions. Big questions, but three simple questions. Where are we now? Where are we going? Where do we want to go? And how will we get there? And so when I'm talking about the component, the strategic plan, that's how I'm going to suggest you look at developing a strategic plan. Where are we now? Where are we going? And how will we get there? So where are we now? I'd argue there are three pieces to defining where you are now. And that is, one is to define your mission statement. Two, to define the values and guiding principles of your organization. And three, to do a SWOT analysis. For those who don't know what a SWOT analysis is, I'm going to show it to you, but essentially it's analyzing your business to identify what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what the company's opportunities are, and what their threats are. And if you think about that, it's sort of internal, your strengths and weaknesses, and external, your opportunities and threats. So let's dive into each one of these elements as we talk about where are we now. So mission, vision, and values. This isn't nice to have. This is important, an important step in defining your strategic plan. It gets people on the same page and gets everyone pulling their oar in the same direction. There is stakeholder management required, yes. There is persuasion and engagement recommended, but think about the businesses you've been in where everybody wasn't on the same page and nobody knew where, why they were there and what their purpose was at the organization. When you've got a well-articulated mission, articulated vision, and articulated values, you've got a long way to creating a culture and an understanding of what your company's about. I gave an example here of a simplified example of a mission, vision, values. So the mission, to provide values to customers, employees, shareholders. The vision, to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And then the values is we will always be honest, ethical, legal, and professional in everything we do. Well, as simplistic as that is, and you could obviously customize that for specific company and product and industry. What that gets you is something you can give to every employee, every new employee, everybody on the leadership team, that tells them what the company's about, what your goal is, what your mission is, the bigger idea you want to pursue, and then how do we do it? What kind of company are we? What kind of people are we that work in this working towards that vision and on that mission? So that's mission, vision, and values. I think this is a lot of fun to develop that a mission, vision, values set of statements, because it really articulates what your company's about. The SWOT matrix is again, strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats. This is a great analytic tool for almost everybody and anything, but particularly in understanding your business and where it is right now. Because remember, the question we're answering that is, where are we now? And doing a SWOT analysis to get a picture of that and getting a lot of people's input is a great way to sort of get a snapshot of today and where the company is. So part one was where are we today, and that was about mission, vision, values, and the SWOT analysis. Question 2 is, where are we going? And what's important about that is what's your sustainable competitive advantage, and what is your specific vision statement? And that should be Vision 2025. I apologize, that's a typo. One of the handouts that I will be sending you is a checklist that evaluates business effectiveness, that covers these 10 areas inside of a company. So just the way we use the business model canvas to centralize all the key functional areas inside of an organization to build a business plan. In this tool, you've got a great way to evaluate what you're doing and where you're going. So how are you at strategic planning? How are you at marketing, sales, customer service, HR, your business systems, your succession planning? How are you going to exit? Financial management, leadership, personal effectiveness. If I can loop back to where we started, when I did that 2-company comparison, which one do you think is most valuable? A lot of what I tried to indicate was that the company that, even though it had lower revenue and lower profitability right now, the company that had all of these areas addressed in some way versus the other one which didn't, was the more valuable company, and the one that's more likely to be bought or purchased. So when I send all of this to you, take a look at that tool. It's a really useful way to understand and how you're going to build your sustainable competitive advantage. Then part 3 is, how are we going to get there? And what we've done already is kind of built this on the way through today, right? We've defined in the business plan, we've defined strategic objectives for the financial, customer, operational, and people. We've got a strategy to get there. That's our marketing plan. We developed goals, priorities, and initiatives. That's the SMART piece, using the SMART tools. And then the last piece is to write the action plan. And the way then to monitor it is to have a scorecard or a dashboard. And so this is that last piece in the components of the strategic plan of defining how we're going to get there. This is an example of a dashboard. I put it here mostly as an example of how crazy these things can get, but to really show you how all the different KPIs, key performance indicators, sorry, that you might want to consider. And if you go across the top here, right, this one is really very comprehensive and not unlikely to be used by a small business, but you know, finance, legal up here, manufacturing, marketing, each one of them has their own dashboard. I think that one like this is a lot simpler and a lot easier, and one that I've seen clients create that they feed out of different other systems in their companies, right? And it's essentially it's a monthly dashboard. It's a one-page summary, the most important metrics to your business, and you decide what those are, right? It's not just a financial summary. If you look over to the left, they have got financial key performance indicators. They've got customer key performance indicators. They got business development and capture key performance indicators, because they've decided that those are the most important metrics. It's not just about the finances. It includes sales pipeline data. How many prospects are in? How many leads did they get? how many converted to prospects, how many prospects converted to customers, that kind of thing. You can also have customer relations metrics, what's going on, measure customer service activities, how does that look? What's happening there? How, what's your employee relations metrics? What's your retention rate with your employees? How long does it take to find a new employee, that kind of thing. And then vendor relations is another place to look in here to make sure that you're managing them well and they're performing well. Are the vendors delivering on time? Are they delivering quality product? What are your measurements? What are the metrics? The classic saw is you can't manage what you don't measure. So you got to decide what you want to manage and then measure it, is the point there. So the next piece I want to talk about inside of the components of a strategic plan are action plans. And this is another instance where you want to write things down, right? You want to name the plan, you want to have, and this is really easy to do on an Excel spreadsheet. Name the plan. They've got lots of project management softwares that do this. Name the plan, assign an owner. You've got to create accountability. Describe what it is. What are you trying to do? What kind of resources does it need? What's the plan to get there? Simple. It could be as simple as a checklist. Putting in SMART goals. So putting SMART goals, and then you want to review it on a regular basis to make sure that it happens and you understand how it's moving and what you're achieving, where you're falling short, and keeping an eye on the ball that way, and using the action plans as a tool to make it happen. Another element of a strategic plan is to have a planning calendar. Some companies like to have retreats, usually better to go off-site. Doesn't mean that you need to go to the Don Cesar, but it is worthwhile going to a third location, another location, to change the vibe, change the scenery, so people know they're doing something different and paying attention to it. Even a community room in a Panera's is fine. It's just about getting into a new place. After you use the annual retreat to create your strategic plan, we've shown you what the tools are to do that. And then what you do is you take that and you have quarterly reviews. How are we performing against the strategic plan? And it's a 2-hour meeting, it's an all-day meeting, it's whatever kind of meeting you need to understand how you're performing against goal. The monthly updates is a subset of the quarterly. How are we going? How are we performing against that? And then weekly action meetings, a Monday meeting. What do we got to do this week to move closer to our vision for the future? And that's the other piece of it that you want to build into it. This all breaks down from an annual plan to quarterly reviews to monthly updates to weekly action. And so we're in that home stretch here, folks. The path to the strategic plan that I just outlined is defining what you love to do, writing out your vision for 23-25 or 22-25, writing down your mission, vision, value statements, your SWOT analysis, reviewing those 10 areas of business effectiveness that I talked about and that will come out, that I'll send you tomorrow. Looking at the business equation exercise is a way to think about how your business has performed, looking at the goals you set, developing action plans, and then defining the planning calendar that you will use over the year to make sure that you're sticking to your strategic plan. Okay, so in summary, the building a strategic plan starts with the financial plan, understanding the numbers and the budget and with budgets and pro formas. It's building a marketing plan where that understands your market and has a structured lead generation process. It's building the business plan, which is so you have an understanding of the business, and it's not just in your head, it's on paper so people can read it and use it. And then having a strategic planning process. It's not an event, it's a process that keeps you working to the future, keeps you knowing where you're going. And I'm going to tell you in closing, remember, you can't do this alone, right? Life, customers, day-to-day, the day-to-day grind will absolutely get in your way. It cannot stop you. The fires always take precedence. You need, and we're here to help as SBDC consultants. We can develop a plan of specific next steps. We can meet weekly, every other weekly, monthly. We can help you with ideas, accountability, and input. If you don't have an SBDC consultant, you can get one. It's easy, it's fast. You go to sbdcorlando.com consulting, and we will be in touch with you shortly thereafter to set a time and to get going with building your strategic plan or helping you in any way you want. So I talked about at the beginning about defining next steps, and I'm going to say that for you, I would recommend that the next steps ought to be in the next 7 days to define that golden month when you will, what your income goal will be, creating the 36-month pro forma, and scheduling a meeting with your SBDC consultants to get it rolling. This is the point at which I can take questions if there are any. Teresa, how can I see questions?
If you, in your GoToWebinar panel, there is a section for questions.
I've got, let's see, can you please also email the handouts? I will be emailing all the handouts. They're part of the package I will send out after this meeting. Do we provide coaching for nonprofits or only for-profit businesses? We do not. We are not expert in coaching for nonprofits. One of our affiliates, SCORE, does have a nonprofit practice, and while the SBDC can be very helpful on all of the business elements of managing a nonprofit, the specifics to nonprofits are a SCORE specialty, and I usually recommend clients contact SCORE to pursue that. And let's see, I've got a brand, let's see, grants. With a brand new business, grants, there are few and far between. It's really hard to talk about in this environment. I would say better to come in and talk to a SBDC consultant about your business and what might be available to you. In general, grants are, as I said, few and far between. There aren't a lot of people that give away money so you can make money, but there are some exceptions to that, and we're happy to help you to dig into that. Let's see. I struggle with choosing the best locations for my events. How do I make sure that my locations are actually targeting my target demographics? What next step am I missing in market research? I think the answer to that would be that we can sit down with you, look at your demographics, your target audience, and then dig into what kind of market research resources we have that might help get you targeted, a more focused target to get to that, to the audience you want to. It's a, I understand the question. It's finding locations and putting events in the right places is probably more art than science. But we do have a lot of resources that could be helpful. So again, I think if you come into the SBDC, we could help you with that. And I think that's all the questions I have. And yes, we do work with freelancers and sole proprietors on a regular basis. Ray, you can't sit down with me to answer the question because I'm a nonprofit. I don't understand the question. We're happy to sit down. We do work with nonprofits. I'm saying that the SCORE is also a valuable resource for nonprofits. We don't have expertise there the way they do. Okay, I'm at time limit here, so I'm going to close this out. To say again, next steps. If you're new to the Florida SBDC, complete a request for consulting so you can get yourself a consultant. If you're not, you're already working with the SBDC, we highly recommend that you get in touch with your consultant and get in with them and start working on your strategic plan. Our contact information is here. This is all included in the PowerPoint, which is one of the handouts, and will be included in what I email out tomorrow. Again, my name is Hal Thayer, and that's my email address and phone number. And thank you. That was Success is No Accident, Strategic Planning for Small Business. I hope it answered your questions. I hope you will be in touch with us as soon as possible to start working with us so we can help build a strategic plan for you. Teresa, I think that's it for me.
All right, and before we go, I just want to remind everyone our surveys are very important to us. You should receive a survey for attending this webinar about an hour from now. So please keep a lookout for it and let us know your thoughts and let us know how we did on the seminar through that survey. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, everybody, for being on board. I hope you'll be in touch and we can help you.
Thank you all. Have a great day.